members, all 4,000. I represent all of the 4,000 ARRL members that are part of the national membership of the league. And you're part of that. This is an elected position. I was elected April and started my service the 1st of April. And I thank you, as does Terry Buzzard, who ran against me. The two of us made a pact that whoever ran and won, the other would support. And so Terry is one of my assistant secretaries. And we both thank you for voting. And I'll be talking a little bit about voting for elections a little bit later on. So slides up, yeah. So what am I going to do? I'm on a listening tour. You're my 4th club I've talked to since April 1st. I'm talking to the clubs. Frankly, I'm listening for the clubs to have a dialogue. I'm going to have a couple questions I'm going to throw out. If you are dead stone quiet, I'll actually go to the next slide. But if you generate questions and answers and conversation, we may not ever get past slide 2 or slide 3. We'll see how well we do at that. So here's my first. Yes, you're gonna run that. Okay, well, next slide, please.
Try it now. I think it'll work.
Right. Yeah.
Try it again, Mike. There we go.
Hey, here's my first overhead question. I want to get your assessment of what do you think is going on in the hobby? I'm going to start with the question of, do you think the hobby is growing in the number of members or shrinking? What do you think?
Growing.
Say again?
Growing.
Growing, okay. Others in the same position,
Yeah,
I think the hobby is growing?
I think a lot of it has to do with quota and soda, and
Yeah.
I think the demographics, especially soda, you know, appeals to the people who like to get outside, and
Yep.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Of course, you'd say that in a mountainous area like Charlottesville, we don't have too many big hills to climb in Northern Virginia, but that doesn't stop our soda guys going out down country, down into this part of the country and further into the Shenandoahs and Blue Ridge. So that's a very good point. Anybody think the hobby is shrinking?
Let me throw a caveat on the growing.
Okay.
We see a lot of people that come in and get licensed and then we don't see them for a while. And so what we would like to see more people being active in the hobby.
All right.
That's
a good one. Active in the hobby. What does that mean? What does it mean to be
I've
active?
researched clearly the number of hams in the US, which is roughly 750,000. The ham population today has grown faster than the general population in the 50 or 60 years that I've been in.
Okay.
But my gut tells me a very large percentage of new hams don't even get on the air, or they occasionally stand up with the air and that's it.
Yep. Well, let's pull some data here. This is a map of the US. This is data as of 2024. That's the most recent I could find. It's a map of the United States. Red states represent states that have significant loss of ham radio operators. Blue states are those states that have growth in amateur radio operations. So California is declining. Well, California's general population is declining. And so as a net of the population of California, what's happening to amateur radio operators? Well, my take is they're moving to Wyoming and Idaho. I used to live and I was stationed in California at Los Angeles Air Force Station. And I got my next assignment was with Space Command at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. I kept my California license plates on my car until I finally figured out that nobody liked Californians moving to Montana. Yeah.
Well, one of
Okay.
them is Nevada.
Well, but take a look where Nevada is in this pile. Nevada is kind of flatline, right? Yeah. It's not growing. It's not improving. What about Virginia? It's white. So based on the scale, it's not growing. It's not shrinking.
What is that, over a 5-year period or 20-year period?
That is December 2019 to December 2024. That's the data. So for that,
Probably grew about 100,000.
well, This is the percent in the state, what it was in 19, what it is in 2024. Sorry, I don't have the better data. Down here, it doesn't show up, but the source of this data is available if you want to plug it. It's a pretty data rich grouping. I think the note here is pretty good. Most of the reductions, it says, most of the reductions are reductions in the number of technician class radio license operators. So where's the growth? Where's the loss? Techs. Okay, that's kind of in my gut too. Okay, I'm going to pose another question. So what do you think is the state with the largest population of amateur radio operators? Think about your logbook
Are
and
you
how many
looking for
contacts.
the number, you know,
Well, that's a good question. Let's just,
I'm a data guy, so you need to qualify.
well, I'm going to say gross number of amateur radio operators in this discussion for the next slide.
So forgetting about the population.
Yep, forgetting about the population. So what do you think? What's the largest state with regards to?
I would say Ohio.
Good, but not quite. Here's the data. This is pulled from data from 2023, where I did this analysis. But frankly, if you look at today's numbers, the ranking is the same. The numbers have dropped from across the board. What I see at the top in yellow is this is the total number of amateur radio operators, and then listed down in order of the total number of ham radio operators. California has roughly 100,000 amateur radio operators, and 13% of all amateur radio operators licensed in the United States. Now, this doesn't qualify, are they active in the hobby or are they inactive? This just is FCC licensing, taking away repeaters and club call signs and other special call signs out there. This is individual HVs, which is a
I'm really
category.
confused because clearly the number of hams is going up.
Well, clearly not. In the state of California, the number of ham radio operators is dropping by as much as 13%.
Right now, I think it's 775,000.
No,
5 years ago, it was like 600,000. So something on your chart data.
no, well, I can, and I'll show you the live data if you want to go into live data, but that's not my purpose. I want you to get to a sense of where the hobby is. And what I'm hoping you're coming with the conclusion is some places are growing, some places are small. The overall number of ham radio operators is somewhere around 700,000, 758,000 in 2023 when I pulled this data. But I want you to kind of look at the rank order. Where's the great state or great Commonwealth of Virginia center? We're the 12th largest number of ham radio operator states in the union. We're in the top 25%. In fact, the top 25% of states, we're number 12 out of 50. Okay, well, I guess that's better than. And if you start adding this up, there's 13% of ham radio operators in California, another 7 in Texas. That makes sense to me. There's lots of ham radio operators in Texas.
Yeah.
I got a lot of ham radio operators in my logbook. Florida, Washington, and Ohio, and New York. That rings true to me that this rank order is what I see when I operate my station in Northern Virginia.
So for sweepstakes, that's very valuable chart.
Well, what do you think about finding my great state of Rhode Island number? And this is cutting this off. There's two more states underneath this
Delaware?
that aren't showing up there. Yeah, Delaware has like 1,500 ham radio operators.
Wow.
Can you ever find a operator in Delaware? Well, one, we're too close to the skip gets problem, right? But second of all, there's just not that many ham radio operators.
Nice to see the percentage of the population.
Well, I have that slide.
Yeah, that, to
Okay.
me, because that really
Yeah.
says, you know, what, to me, if you ask me what state has the most ham radio operators, I would say, I would rather see the data per capita.
Sure,
I would rather see it.
I can do that.
Because I know like Alaska, I saw you said Alaska was going down. I lived there 14 years. And one thing I can tell you about Alaska, one, everybody uses ham radio. Two, nobody's licensed. Same thing with pilots. 30% of the people that fly small planes in
So
Alaska.
all I want to do here is just set the stage. Virginia's kind of not growing, not shrinking. Some states are growing more than others. Some states are declining.
Yeah,
That's kind of an interesting thing. What's causing that? Because some big states are declining. Some small states, Virginia is holding their own. Okay. Et cetera, et cetera. I threw in North Carolina and West Virginia so that we could talk about the Roanoke division. So North Carolina has, somewhere around, 22,000 amateur radio operators in the state. And Virginia has just really about 20,000 thereabouts. I use gross round numbers when I talk about these data. Okay, these are licensed ham radio operators. It does not mean that they're on the air. In fact, take a look at this column over here in the US total. Of all the amateur radio operators licensed in the United States, what percent of the total are technicians?
50%.
50%. Now think about your club. Are 50% of your club members technicians? Now, Scott, don't tell me what UVA's club is. All technicians. But let's hold
Well,
that.
actually,
off to the side.
UK club, we look at who has a license.
But the point is, how think of your club. Do you have half of your club are techs?
I'd say about 50% are tech.
Okay, good. Well, that's the national average. I find that across the 71 clubs in Virginia, the vast majority of club members have a higher radio license than tech. I also find that if you're a technician and you join a club, peer pressure or otherwise, you end up getting licensed at a higher level at some time within the next year or two. That's what I see in club data in Virginia, and I've been watching that very closely. I'm gonna move on. I don't want to bring out the per capita slide right now. This just is a zoom up of what the Roanoke division is. So the Roanoke division is roughly 10,000 amateur radio operators licensed
Oh,
in
wow.
the state. I already mentioned to you on this flag over here, the people are leaving are technicians. And I want to come back and zero in on that a little bit with my questions. And I'm going to do that by zooming in on Virginia. I look at this, I was elected as your section manager a month and a half ago. My purpose is to hit as many clubs as I can in my first 6 months as a listening session to get a sense of where you sit. But here's the numbers I'm using in my report card. In 2 years from now, when you have an election and you have a choice of who you're going to vote for in the election as the section manager for Virginia, if you're an ARRL member. There's roughly 20,000 amateur radio operators in the FCC database in Virginia. Of those, the ARRL tells me that I have about 4,200 that are ARRL members out of that cohort of 20,000 amateur radio operators. So 4 out of 20 would be 2 out of 10. So 20% of all the FCC licensed people in Virginia are amateur radio operators. But I want to look at it that way. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Let's take a look at the clubs. There's 72 clubs. Ironically, in the 72 clubs, when you add up everybody's reports in their ARR data that they provide me as the affiliated club coordinator, which I have been for the last 5 years, I find that they're reporting about 7,200 club members. But I want to very quickly say, of these 7,200 club members, only 1,844 are ARRL members. Don't get confused. What I'm saying here is we have a whole knob of ARRL members, and what we're saying, only about half of them belong to a club. Think about this for a minute. Do you know anybody who's an active ham who will not, under any conditions, they'll fold their arms and say, I will never join ARRL because once they did something to me and I don't like them. I can tell you there's a few people like that. Would you kind of agree with me for the moment, lacking any other information, if there's 4,000 amateur radio operators who are ARRL members, then there probably is an equal number of those who say, no way would I join ARRL. Is that a reasonable kind of going in position? So roughly 8,000, maybe a little bit higher, amateur radio operators, members and non-members are probably active. I know the ARRL members are active because they're at least shelling out money or have a life membership and have shelled out money in the past to belong to ARRL. They might be reading QST. Heck, they might even be reading QEX. Scott, for your benefit, some of us read the IEEE proceedings. There are several proceedings that have a lot of amateur radio technology and research and development discussions going on in them. Frankly, I find those IEEE proceedings better and more authoritative with regards to what I'm interested in, which is software-defined radio technology. So I'm laying the strategy that kind of says there's between 8,000 and maybe 10,000 amateur radio operators, some ARRL members, some not, that in some capacity, way, or form are involved in the hobby. They might be in Aries, but that's all they do, is they do exercising for Aries. Some of them are DXers, God love those people, especially the ones that are overseas, because those are the ones I want to talk to. Some of them go out on expeditions, so that's even better yet. I'll help them fund their expeditions if they go to the places I need them to go to. Okay, some of them are like me. I was active for the first 10 years of my career, of my amateur radio life. I went to college, I was active in college. As soon as I joined the Air Force, I put the radio away and didn't touch it until 47 years later. And I came back to the hobby because my kids, when I retired for the third time, wrote me a letter, literally wrote me a letter, signed by all three kids, and it says, "Dear Dad, you've attempted to retire 3 times. You failed miserably at each of these and gone back to work. We don't think you should go back to work anymore because you get lost coming home from work too often. We think you need a hobby." Signed, love, kids. My wife's footprints are on that letter, I'm convinced. In any event, I came back to the hobby in 2016 and haven't looked back. About every 3 weeks or so, I discover something. And I said, that wasn't in the hobby when I was a kid in 1961. But that's okay. I like how the hobby is evolving. Not everybody does. Not everybody liked the hobby as it was evolving from amplitude modulated final amplifiers to single sideband. Some people don't like digital today. Believe it or not, some people don't like coda and soda. Although I think that's a great thing. Why? I can always do a signal check with those guys. They're eager to talk. Okay. So anyway, here's where we are. Well, okay. 2 more facts. This is important. Every year in Virginia, we mint about 800 new amateur radio operators. Some of them are kids, some of them are young adults. Some of them are people like me. They're retiring and have to find a hobby and don't want to be golfing in the middle of the winter time in Virginia. Okay, so we see 800 new hams coming into the hobby. Sadly, the best I can tell, we're losing about 1,200 departing the hobby. Sure, some are SKs. Think back in the last 3 years, how many SKs have you seen in your club? How many?
Probably 5,
5 in the last number of years?
that's 3 years.
So let's say 2 a year.
Yes.
Okay, there's 70 clubs, 2 times 70. So maybe there's 200 SKs in the state. Even maybe 300. That's not 1,200. So where are the rest of these guys that are leaving the hobby? Well, the vast majority of them are technicians. You pull the expired data for the month of April, or for the month of May, looking forward, and you look at those roughly 120 people that are departing or expiring their licensing. Some of them will renew before the 2 years are up, but they're vast. The half of them, about 50 out of that list, are technicians licensed in 10 years. Why is that significant? What happens at the 10-year point?
Right.
They have to renew. Have you renewed lately?
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
not.
sir.
Yeah, follow
7 minutes, 32 seconds.
yeah, follow the rules there, right? Or call ARRL if you're an ARRL member, and over the phone, they'll say, fill out this form. It's just got a couple dates of data lines in it. They put this data line into a spreadsheet, and once a day they upload the spreadsheet to FCC. FCC sends an email that says, pay your $35. You call back to ARRL and say, I got my FCC notice that my license has been renewed. I need to pay my $35. The nice people in the DEC office takes your credit card number, and that's uploaded to FCC. And that takes all of about 35 seconds.
Is there correlation of decline in ham radios with dissolved?
Yes,
License to-
Absolutely.
Which used to be 0.
I can tell you that for a fact. If you look at the data, back in 2006, when the FCC changed the no code, there was a gradual rise for 10 years. During COVID, there was a more steep rise. Right after COVID, it began to drop. And it dropped by the technicians, the party. Who are they? The new technicians. So I don't know who in your club gets the monthly affiliated club coordinator newsletter update that I send out. Do you all know who gets that? I didn't look it up. I should have. In any event, I send a list of expiring texts in the Charlottesville area. Take the time, pull out that list, write a personal note. Dear ham radio operator, I don't know who you are. I see that your license is expiring. Protect your investment, even if you're not active, and renew. If you have a problem, 7 minutes and 35 seconds, see the club website, okay? If you need more help, here's my email address. Write them a personal note. Okay, add another paragraph, 2 sentences, 1 sentence. Come to our field day event on June 27th, 28th. How are we gonna get new hams and hams that are thinking they're gonna quit because they've never really discovered what the hobby is like to become active? By getting them on the air. That's my message. I'm hoping that resonates with you, because this kind of ends this first part of the presentation, and I'm gonna pose you a new question. How have your friends at ARRL helped you lately? This could be controversial. You think I was controversial before? Whoa. Here's the ARRL. I can put everything about ARRL that's good in this one chart. And I like to build it from the bottom. ARR builds its foundation on the membership. It's about 140,000, 135,000 right now of ARRL members. It's down some a little bit, but that's okay. It is what it is. But that is the foundation that drives the league, including the members who are volunteers. On my staff as volunteers, I have a section emergency coordinator and Terry Buzzard. I mentioned him earlier. He ran for the election. This is the second time he ran. I have a individual that is the youth coordinator that is coordinating activities with youth through collegiate. We're trying to develop some more colleges into the family. I was at Liberty College or Liberty University 3 weeks ago, talking with the students there. I was at UVA today. I'm hoping to build the collegiate program to some degree, but also put it under some kind of program that as students move in and out, more students will come in. And as we build in the high school programs, amateur radio operators, and they go to school, we see that they're going to Old Dominion, or they're going to Virginia Tech, or the University of Virginia, or Mennonite, Eastern Mennonite University, or Liberty, that they're ham radio clubs that they can affiliate with. Now, I want to be careful. I was a college professor for about 7 years. Ham radio and college students don't mix. College students that spend too much time in the Radio Shack flunk out. So I'm very sensitive about making sure we put the studies first, but the hobby second. Technology, we are a technology hobby. I can list 15 or 20 things that ARRL is doing for us in the technology business. But I'm going to shut up here. These are what ARRL thinks is their mission and their key pillars. Do you think that sums it up, or do you think it's missing something? Of course, advocacy includes updates to Part 97. There have been some fairly sizable rewrites to make it more plain English. This is true throughout the federal government's regulations programs. Make it more readable, take out some of the silly nonsense. Not all the silly nonsense has been removed yet. Public service, geez, of course, public services, aren't we licensed so that we could be available when all else fails? Let me, go ahead, Ed.
Ham radio to me is the only hobby that's also a public service.
Yeah.
Do you think of any other hobby that's, well,
Golf,
golf?
sure. I'm making sure those greens get stepped on. Hey, farmers, why when I was driving down, I see a lot of farm fields scraped to the earth? Is that they pulled a harvest and they're replanting?
Yeah.
So that's
Frost.
natural?
The frost killed.
Drought.
The drought, I thought it was a drought.
Well, drought, frost together,
Okay, so they plowed it
we had
basically,
two really bad things happen concurrently.
and they're not gonna replant this planting season, because it's too late to replant. Okay, thank you. That was not in the lecture notes, by the way. Hey, by the way, this is a slide that you have available to you. If somebody said, well, I think we should be doing X, I would usually go to the chart and say, well, let's see. The ARRL lab and technical and RF support. Did you know that each of you have 4 hours of special consultation time with the wizards in the ARRL lab on any technical subject? I've called them up with solar panels on roof issues. They look it up in a little book and says, yeah, we tested this. We think you should call Joe Blow at this company. And because that's, I told them the company name, call this guy, particularly this guy, don't get to the sales rep. And they'll probably conclude that we need to change the inverter, micro inverters on each of the back of the panels. And they've done, they come, they do, noise goes away. The lab is an underutilized. Did you know within the section, we have technical specialists? And I'm recruiting for technical specialists. I don't care what your technical specialty is, but if I can get this list, I can put it out on the website. And if people have a problem with, I don't know, let's say RFI, I'll have a name next to RFI, and that guy can help you get to the right lead guy if he can't solve it himself. So each of the sections have a technical service. Hey, newsletters, only 1/2 of all the 4,000 amateur radio operators who are ARRL members in Virginia get my monthly newsletter. That means the other half are not giving. It's the best thing I've written since high school. I'd like you to get it, but to get it, you have to opt in. When you get these slides, scan this on your cell phone, it'll bring up a step-by-step process, and you can opt in and get my newsletters. Really good written newsletters.
It's under division and section.
It's all, yeah, the division and section news is what it is. Mine comes out the morning of the first of the month. I've been so far successful doing that the morning of the month. And I'll be doing it again. My focus this month will be, next month, June 1st will be on field day. So lots of cool things they do. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but they're there and they're things that members can benefit from. How many of you are doing on the air, chasing the W1AW slant whatever stations in the States? Let me back up. Did you know that this was the year of the club? And the year of the club is sponsoring a series of contests. One of them is Work All States in the year 2026, the 250th anniversary of the United States. Sure, we've all worked all states, but work it this year. And you'll get an honorary plaque based on the 250th anniversary. Now, one step further, if you in fact worked all 50 states, you're eligible for a certificate or a endorsement that says that you've worked all states, use those states activating as W1AW slant, 6 for California, or 7 for, I don't know, Washington State or wherever. Think about that. It isn't over. All the states have a second time in the barrel starting in July. So think about the 250 anniversary year and participating in this event. More importantly, bring some of these new hams that you have in the club. Invite them to your station, just one. And then you invite one, and you invite one. And in fact, engage them on a one-on-one journey about HF. While I support VHF and UHF, frankly, there's not a lot of band activity on VHF and UHF today. If I was a tech and I got myself a license and I bought myself a cheap $25 radio, and I finally figured out how to program it to the local computer, and then I called CQ on it, probably half the people would laugh. So I'd say, okay, I'll just get my call sign and the word listening, and now maybe somebody might respond, but more likely, Nobody's gonna respond to any activity on the Jupiter activity other than net time. So one thing I do with New Hampshire and Northern Virginia is welcome to the hobby. Here's a list of all the nets of all the clubs in the local area. That's not as applicable here. But you could do the same thing if you do that. Give them the scorecard of where the activity is on the VHF repeaters, the fact, including the UVA repeater. Okay. If you're sitting in the shack and you're doing some work and you have your VHF radio on and you hear somebody tentatively calling CQ, answer them. Welcome to the hobby, because they're probably a new guy. Okay, I'm gonna forget about this and look at here. You can pull the data from LOTW. This is my screenshot. What happens when you work the W1AW, say in Florida, slant 4, it's gonna show up in your logbook as Newington, Connecticut, until the guys in Florida get done with their week and they upload into LOTW. And when they do, it'll magically change in your local logbook as well as in the logbook of the world that they're from Michigan, Florida, Vermont, Indiana, wherever they happen to be from.
That happened to me. I feel like a total idiot. Well, I usually feel like a total. I worked some stations. And I saw that it showed up in LOTW as Connecticut. So I quit doing the contest because I thought, it's broken.
Right.
So if I go now back and look,
Yeah.
I say, wow,
Now,
that was a good piece of information. That was worth admission right there.
look at this slide when it goes on the Zoom meeting, because it's cut off here down at the bottom because of the ribbon. There's also a little trick that you have to do. You have to set up a WAS, worked all states, 250 certificate. Because what you want to do is only look at this year. Yes, I guarantee you that it works as it should. Hey, I want to get done here, and really what I'm getting done with is, okay, what can I do for you? I'm being very open and outreaching. I do have a team that's working with me. Some of the folks are carried forward from Jack Smith's team on purpose. I need them for continuity purposes. I've incorporated some assistant section managers who, if they commit to work for me, they have a real job. Ed's working with teacher education and getting our high school, particularly our high school teachers, to the Teachers Institute at the league. Bob Myers is working special projects, but what he's really doing is pulling together a series of the club presidents, a group of the plus presidents, and Dennis, you were part of that team, I think, early in August or early in April. And I'm continuing the kitchen I'm continuing that the kitchen cabinet because I want the advice from the presidents as I move forward. Section coordinator is Terry. I'm gonna hold on to the affiliated club coordinator until I suck somebody out of the southwestern part of the state. Blacksburg or wherever. I don't want everybody to be northern tier based or Tidewater area. I need the whole state being represented. So my meeting when I get and they already know it down in New River, when I go down there in a couple weeks, is that I'm looking for an affiliated coordinator. I'll do it in the interim. Carl Clements would like to move on from the national traffic system, and I'm revitalizing the national traffic system. You'll be seeing an email, if you haven't already, that talks about the national traffic system and field day. I'd like each of the clubs to overwhelm the national traffic system with radiograms.
Sometimes it takes 4 days.
Well, let's get input. They'll worry about the rest of it. I mean, when was the last time you heard somebody give a radiogram at past traffic on the either Virginia sideband net or the Old Dominion emergency net? Or even in the upper part of the state, the Northern Virginia traffic net. You don't hear it. Now, I don't want to send stupid messages that are a waste of everybody's time in handling them. I do want this to be a true practice to what we're doing, but field day is all about message trafficking. Okay, move on. What am I doing? This is my strategic plan. This is my last slide, and I want to wrap up with this one. Two things. I want to build a good leadership team. I like Jack. I worked for Jack for nearly 4 years. Well, over 4 years, actually. Jack, as the section manager, really didn't lead his team. He had other things that were interesting to him. And then towards the end, he got sick, unfortunately. I'm not that kind of manager. I've led large organizations in the Department of Defense, extremely large organizations in the Department of Defense, and I don't manage alone. I manage with a team. So build a team, and I would need to build better comms with all our ARRL members, not just the club members. I can reach them through the clubs. That's what I need you to do. But I also need to reach those that don't want. And then I want to get to building a cadre of new hams. And I don't care if they're 16 years old or if they're 66 years old. I want ham radio operators in the hobby. I think we can grow more than 800 a month. Then I also think we can stem some of the loss of 1,200 a month by reaching out to those techs in particular who are on the fence. They just don't see value in the hobby, but they never got inculcated in the hobby, and give them a second chance.
Per year, not per month. The 800.
The 800's annually. Yeah, okay, sorry, annually. It's about 60 new members and about roughly 90 departing.
Well, you know, to me, a fundamental question is, you know, the members who were the license holders were losing our tax.
Right,
And obviously the focus is on tax. And we know who the technician holders are. It's in the FCC database.
yes,
So they got their license for some reason. And I feel like one of the things that we as seasoned hams, if you want to call it that, we tend to look at the hobby through the lens of HF. And my challenge has always been that, you know, a lot of us, when we, you know, talk about retention and building the hobby, you know, we'll say, you know, they need to get on the air. And you yourself just said it's not VHF, it's not UHF, it's HF. Well, do we have hard data that supports why technicians got their license in the first place? Maybe a certain percentage of them want to run a drone. Maybe a certain percentage of them want to use UHF and VHF in an outdoor hobby. Maybe, you know, if we don't know why they got their tech license in the first place, we're at a huge disadvantage, because we may be thinking we're getting them into the hobby by saying, get on the air, you know, go buy an HF rig, put up a tower, you know, when really they just want to be able to go hunting and have, you know, I lived in Alaska, you know, a lot of people, I joked about it, but, you know, before satellite radio got cheap, literally everybody in Alaska had a UHF, VHF.
sure.
So I think that we're already at a disadvantage as an organization and as amateur radio operators. We're missing a huge data point, and that is, why did you get your license? Because then we can lean into
Yeah, I get it.
meeting them at their need. I mean, I think we're kind of,
So the short answer, we don't have data that.
yeah, how do you get it? You survey them.
The question is, how do you get it?
You survey them.
Well, you get it by good shoe leather, right? That's how.
Yeah, but you know what? You could have a Qualtrics form on the ARRL website tomorrow that simply says, somebody visits the ARRL website. You have a whole new ham section there. It's public. You click that link. And hey, are you a new ham? Do you have a second to tell us about why you got in the hobby? That would take somebody in your organization, you know, 2 hours to do, and people with that, now you can start collecting data.
Good.
I just don't know why we don't do that.
Well, there are people that are looking at this. Many of them are the quote FM associations, because they are the ones that are losing members and see an advantage of bringing these members in. Frankly, there's a whole aspect here. When you look at the text and you write them and say, hey, will you tell me this? They won't write back.
Well, but what?
So, but let's, my time's short, so we can have this conversation afterwards. I just want to wrap up by saying that, there's a strong emphasis on my team looking at scouting and youth. I'm aiming more for the younger than the collegiates. Although I have a small collegiate activity going on of my own personal nature. And my club at Michigan Tech was WA8AHZ. It's still active today, 65 years later. It goes through cycles. Sometimes it's not very active.
You might ask Hank to interview people on re-administer the VE.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, Ed, that's great. That's one person talking to a handful of people that take a test once a year. You have the power of the entire ARRL
Right.
with a website where new hams, even if they don't join, go.
Yeah, we can solve that.
Okay,
That's,
fine.
this is what I'm here. I've got that one written
One
down.
topic that you ignored, and I think it's important, I've asked members, why won't you join the league? And some of them are BS reasons. Or I got mad at them 10 years ago, but that typical reason is I can't afford the dues. Would you address that? I don't think the dues are high, relative, you know. When I joined, it was 13 a year, but that's 1963.
Yeah, right.
Wages were lower.
Without question, the financial decision to raise dues and to drop the embedded QSD magazine as part of dues as this, and have that as a special, that created havoc in the league and dissent, and the league knows that.
How much is it? I don't even
but-
know.
Give you an example, right here, this year, they're running a $500,000 deficit. They've cut probably 15 to 20% of their staff. They're not, they're a very lean staff. There's only 80 people on the ARRL.
It's 50 a year since something like that.
So, you know, the issue is too, particularly for students, there's a student rate. In fact, there's a student rate at 0, and there's a student rate at $25. So there are student rates.
Is that through like age 22 or something?
I think it's 26. At least that's what I told you, so tell them to stay a student member until they kick them out.
So I have a suggestion, why doesn't our club do a 1-year comp, ARRL membership with the magazine, with all new hams? That, what do you think? We have enough money there?
Well, I'll go one step further. Why don't you go and see?
All the 2,500 clubs and say, every new ham that gets a license, that club should give them a comp 1 year.
If they join that club.
You have something called the club commissioning. We have something called the club commissioning
We
program.
dropped it, it was too much work.
Yeah, I was gonna come back to that. But this could be an ideal that, you know, that field day. You don't have to have everybody in this thing. You have some people in it, and then maybe as time goes on, others see the advantage of it. But then you rebate back to the members, the benefit that's associated with the program. Frankly, what went through my mind is right now, people are getting grants from ARRL and associated other organizations, ARDC specifically. Grants for funds to do things. If you can, and it's usually 1-year money, in other words, you don't renew it every year. But why don't you write a grant application that says, we would like to do the following study. We would like to do some technicians outreach. We'd like to do some incentivizing of new members. And what we will guarantee you at the end of the year is data results. That's missing.
When you're done, if you have a little time, you sit in on our general meeting.
Yeah, well.
You'll hear what our treasurer budget is. I don't believe the average club.
We only got like $5.
I don't think this is pictures of ours. And I don't think they're sort of subsidized.
Willing to do all the year. I think for 2,500 clubs, we only got 800 new people a
No,
year.
there's not 2,500 clubs in Virginia.
No, no, I'm saying,
72.
I'm saying go to the league. The league goes out to 2,500 clubs, says, as a suggestion. Why don't you, for every new ham that comes on, like technician, whatever, give them a 1-year comp membership to the league with QST and to their club, and to their club.
And actually, not QST, please. What we'd rather you do for the
On
young
the air, on
is
the
give
air.
them on the air.
What
And
if-
if you've not
on
read
the
an on the air, take and read one.
Right.
And you'll see why it's probably the right thing for our newer hams. But anyway, we can talk about that, but I want to switch me off the screen so you can start your business meeting. And yes, I'll take the edge around.
That was very good.
Thank you.
Good job, Michael.
I'll show you.
Well, thank you very much.